Hello, everybody. Welcome to our webinar. We'll get started just in interest of time. So thank you everyone for joining. For those who I've never met before, my name is Amanda and I'll be hosting your webinar today. I'm one of the training specialists here at Reped. So before we get started, just a couple of items that we want to cover off with you. So I guess today is about the efficient BDM, workflows, and how you can eliminate your workload. We'll be demonstrating some practical ways and tools designed to streamline your processes. And our focus is equipping you on your skills and confidence to manage your leads more effectively whilst leveraging the powerful automation features that Letting BDM product has. By the end of the webinar, we hope that you can strengthen your day-to-day lead management, confidently utilize the automations and simplify your workflow. We're excited to show you just how some small changes in your approach can significantly reduce your admin time, produce consistency, and ultimately boost your performance. So, before we get started as well, just a little bit of a disclaimer. Anything that you see on the screen today is for demonstration purposes only. It doesn't represent any real clients or business information, and you'll probably see that by the name of my clients in my test account. So now you can all see my screen that I'm sharing. I'm on the Lettings BDM screen. So just a couple of tips I would say that I would start with is just in regards to some navigation. Okay, on the left-hand side, we've got our favorites page. So rather than you coming in, clicking on the left-hand side, clicking into your leads, you can come to your favorites and add that page to your favorites tab. So if you're using Reaper Letting, for example, or To Apply or Lettings BDM, your commonly used pages, you can just add them to your favorites page and you can also rename them by clicking on the pencil if you wanted to. Some key things with the dashboard. Now, you will hear me say quite often within this webinar that changing your statuses is quite important because it connects to certain parts of the BDM module. So with your dashboard, what you can see and what you can do. You can filter to a specific BDM if you like. You can move through different date periods. You can also customize what you're seeing. But any new leads to action, you can click in and it will take you directly to the lead. Any follow-ups that you need to make, you can click directly into this widget and it will take you to the leads that you need to follow up, and also any appraisals that you've conducted that you need to complete your feedback, you can click directly in. Now you can see here we've got results. So you can see appraisals conducted. I've done 3, but I haven't got any scheduled at the moment. And I've got 2 that are in the proceeding status, or 1 in the proceeding status, I should say. 2 leads that are in the property listed and 1 in the management secured. These results are all driving from your status changing. And as a BDM, I'm sure time is money and you want to make sure that you're performing and nurturing the leads within your system. So if you are reporting on where you're up to or how many properties you've appraised for the month, how many properties you've listed or management secured, by changing the statuses, these will all filter into your end of month reporting. You can also down below see the sources of your leads, your lead managements, your top referrers as well. And on the right-hand side, you've got a breakdown of your follow-ups, any contact sessions you've made, what's in your current pipeline, and also your financials. Now, in my system, my financials is triggered by a specific status. So when I lease a property or the property's been, I've received a transfer of management, when I change that specific status, it will trigger for me to pop in the financials, which you'll see today. But this is where it will feed into, and also if I'd like to track my conversion rates. So that's just a little bit of a high level of your dashboard. And how these numbers all, I guess, filter through is by your status changing. If we come back to the left-hand side under the leads grid, this leads grid is fully customized. So in order to have an efficient workflow, you want to be able to come into your leads grid and see, okay, what follow-ups do I need to do? I've got these two that are currently outstanding because they're in red. If I wanted to filter, say, to all of my warm leads, I can filter through into all of my warm leads. So these buckets up the top are all filtered. Your leads grid might look a little bit different to mine. That's because I've customized my leads grid by clicking on the column chooser and I have selected, you can drag and drop the order that you would like to see your leads grid and click Save View. Once you have customized your leads grid, you can come to the three dots, click on Search New, name that leads grid, and you can also set that as your default and click Save so that every time you log in, you don't need to be going in and customizing your grid. It will always be in that view. And just a little tip, you can do that in all of the places that you click into Refit Letting. Now, in terms of our leads grid, think about current as your current leads that you're currently nurturing. So when we talk about messages and your lead journey a little bit later on, we're going to look at current versus completed. Current, think about that as the leads that you're currently nurturing. If I switch this to all, 30 days or all, these are all of the leads that I've ever had in my system, regardless of what status they're up to. So this one here, for example, I've done an appraisal for, but they're not proceeding. They do not need to be in my current leads grid because I've nurtured that lead, I have done the appraisal, and now they're not proceeding. So it's a lead that I'm not currently nurturing. But if I wanted to, for example, switch that back to all, if I wanted to have a look at all of my leads that I've ever done an appraisal for that are not proceeding, I can actually filter. And then these are all the leads. I might want to do a contact session by selecting all and coming to start a contact session. I might want to bulk update the pipeline. And how you bulk update either your follow-ups, your ratings, or your lead statuses is by selecting all and coming down to this little icon here and we click update. So if I wanted to bulk update a whole bunch of leads to a specific status, I can do that. I can select and then click OK. If I wanted to update the BDM, I can do that in bulk as well. Or if I wanted to change the temperature, these appraisals here, they're not proceeding with me, and I want to change them all to a cool temperature, I can, and maybe I want to do a follow-up call next week. If I click OK, you can see now that their follow-up dates have all been updated in bulk and as well as their rating, their temperature. So you can do bulk updates anywhere within the system. I'm just going to switch this back to current. Amazing. Okay, so a question for you all. When was the last time that you reviewed your lead journey and your messages within your system? So has anyone gone in recently under messages, letting BDM, and reviewed any of the messages that are attached to any statuses? In the new year, you try to update it. Amazing. That's great. So, with time being such a critical factor within the BDM role, it's essential to ensure that your communication remains accurate, that it also remains on brand and aligned with your current processes. By regularly reviewing your workflows and messages, you're not only strengthening your day-to-day lead management skills, but you're also ensuring that the automation is working confidently and effectively for you and not against you. So, as I mentioned earlier, in terms of statuses, think about statuses as equaling messages that are going out to your clients. So, let's demonstrate. I am in the messages letting and I'm in current. So, current, if we just go back to our leads grid, Amazing, Shana. You did a full audit last month. That's really awesome. Okay, so if we just jump back into our leads grid, current are our current leads that we're nurturing. Okay, if we come back to messages, letting current, these statuses that you're seeing here will be in that current workflow, the current leads that you're working with. So come through, click on edit message. You'll see the gray banner populating out. This will be selected as lead. If this message is turned on and you click save, then that message will start being sent when any new leads come from a portal. So what this particular status is, if you don't have this on at the moment, is if you have sales properties within your office that are currently for sale, you can, through your uploader, push those sales properties into Reapid BDM. And with particular keywords, if an investor, for example, stipulates on that sales property that they're an investor, or they write something like yield or a particular keyword, that will then convert into a lead. By having this switched on, this particular message will automatically be sent out. So it's a good idea for this one to also be reviewed. But you can click anywhere in the line, review the messages, come down, review your SMSs, and you can also add in any particular merge fields. So when we think about our lead journey, a new lead comes in from the portal, this particular email will fire off. Or if a new lead came in from your website, or if you've created web links, this is essentially the message that will go out to either the lead or the referrer. You can have that switched on. If you're adding any leads manually, for example, via the create new prospective landlord status, if this is turned on, this will be the message that will be sent. So have a think about that. From 5 to 1, these are leads that are coming into your system. Then when you're actually nurturing the lead, if I click on edit message, let's say you booked an appraisal, this is essentially what will go out to the lead. Once you conduct an appraisal within Lettings BDM, the system will ask you for feedback. So if the client is proceeding with that particular management, you can change the status to appraisal completed proceeding, and this message will fire off to your client. Now, you do have the ability to turn these on or off, and you'll see when we actually go through the journey, whether you want to actually send that message to your clients or not. But rather than think about it, and let's take a step back for a moment. When you're communicating with your investors, your potential investors, are you going into your Outlook, typing up the email, sending that out, and then dragging and dropping that email, let's say, within the lead so that you've got a copy of that? You don't necessarily need to do that anymore. By you configuring these messages, you're simply just changing a status and that message will be sent. So your workflow essentially is cut down because you don't have to physically type that message over and over again. So if they're proceeding with the management, excellent. We want to let them know that we will be sending them a managing authority, for example. Once you send that managing authority, essentially you can change the status to management secured. Now, for anyone that is a Reapid One client, and if you're using Reapid PM, it's this status here that will push the property and the contact into Reapid PM, so you don't need to double handle that information. Again, within this message, you might want to say thank you for returning the management authority. We're going to get photography organised and we're going to list your property. When you change this, when you do advertise the property, change it to property listed. You might also want to add in your link to your website to your clients so that they can see the property that's listed. So that's essentially the journey and how you can customize your messages. And if we come back to the dashboard, this is essentially where these numbers are moving up from. So as we're working through those particular statuses, this is where it's filtering that we've got 1 management secured, we've got 2 properties listed. And this will also filter to your end of month reporting. Just coming back to the messages, BDM. That was the current, so they're the current leads that we're working on. When we switch it in the completed status here are leads that you've either had a property lost, property lease transferred. This is when you've listed the property, done and dusted, you've leased it. This is essentially the message that can be sent out to the client. Now, if you don't want these messages to be sent, you can untick. Um, but essentially, in my system, this is the trigger where it's going to start triggering the financials. If someone has indicated that they're not going to be proceeding with a particular um, appraisal that we've conducted, this can be the message that can be sent out. So come through, have a look at your current, your completed, also your events. The events are the messages that will be sent when you do book appraisals from the system. You've even got templates that you can add into the system. So essentially, this can eliminate a lot of your workload. Okay, so, all right. Sorry, can everybody still hear me okay?
Yep, loud and clear.
Yep. Thank you very much. Thank you. I'm just here. I don't know what's happening with the computer today, but there we go. Thanks, guys. All right. So let's talk about the actual lead journey and let's have a look at that from start to finish. Before we get started on that, though, under the appraisals, now, if you don't book your appraisals from the system, you can. And the great thing about it is your landlords or potential landlords, investors will be notified along the way when you do book the appraisals. So before you start booking the appraisals, we always recommend you come to the left-hand side under appraisals and ideal week. Set the times and days that you would like to be available. So just get that there. You select your name. As you can see, Dua Lipa is a BDM in my system. Now you can select how many days in advance you would like your investors to book the appraisals. Okay, mine I've got 21 days in advance. But essentially, you would come down below, click on the three dots, new entry, and we want to enter in the date and the time that we want to be available. So if I just tick this on a Saturday, I might only want to be available between 11 and 1 and click save. And I might be generous on a Sunday. I want to be available between 10 and 11. So you basically input the times and days that you would like to be available for appraisals. And essentially, when we're in our leads, I'm going to show you how to do that. You can either email the booking links to your clients or you can book the leads yourself. So I'm sure everybody on this call has told me that you currently use BDM. So I'm not going to add in a new lead. We'll work with Justin Bieber. So this lead here, if I click into Justin Bieber, as you can see with our new look and feel, we've got our summary, we've got the details of the client. If you need to edit anything within that lead in terms of contacts, you can. You can also see any recent activities. If Justin Bieber owned more than one particular lead in the system, I can link those leads together so it will notify me that, they've got more than one property. If I'd like to book an appraisal, this is where I will come in and book the appraisal. And if I had leads portaling from my sales properties, essentially in this inquiries tab and lead answers, you'll be able to see what the clients actually responded and which property they inquired about. Under the activity tab, we can add notes. Oh, my sister's me today, so just bear with me one moment. We'll log back in. Okay, so we can add a note within the system and call Justin, left a message. So if you'd like to track all in one place, anything that you have made contact with the clients, you can add notes there. In terms of the property, this is essentially the property that we're trying to list. Now, if you are using our lettings product, really great feature that we've got here is our tenant matches. So you will be able to go in and see if you do have anybody that is looking for a specific property like this one or in the same area. You will be able to see the names and numbers of the clients. If you would like to send, a snippet to the clients to say we've got 20 people in our system, you can do that. It just won't provide them with the actual contact details of the tenant, which is great. And down below here, we can click on edit and adding in our financials. If I click on the three dots, I can set the ideal management fees and anything that I've negotiated with the particular client. I might put here, need to review fees and click save. Under files, if you would like to add any particular files in here, you can. And campaigns, we won't touch on today, but essentially, if your clients were on campaigns, which are triggered by statuses, you'll see them here, or you can add them to the campaign. Now, virtual listing kits, if you haven't seen what a virtual listing kit looks like, I'm just going to generate one for you, just to give you a bit of an idea, again, eliminating your workflows. If I just open this up, you can actually email these to your clients. So it will show you who it's prepared for, a little bit of a welcome about your business. You've got your details, which you can add in your own photo there. But what I do love about this is it can show you how many tenants are in your database, what your average rents per week is, and what properties you have listed. Now, these are not editable. If you do have a webbook subscription, you can edit this information that you're seeing essentially. However, it's come standard. Your clients can click to view your listings, but what they can also do is click into book an appraisal. So if I just jump back into my lead, if I come to messages, in my system, the virtual listing kit is a standard template that I can add anything in here and I can email that to my client if I wanted to. Okay, so in your messages, if I just click on email, in the backend system settings, if you'd like to input any of your templates to save you time, you can do that there. All right, so if we just come back down, let's book an appraisal, click on book. Now, the override calendar, only you will be able to see that. If you send the link to your clients to book an appraisal, they will see the appraisal bookings like this. So all the times and days you're available. If you also sync your calendar, these appraisals can sync to the calendar. So by booking this, your clients will receive a calendar invitation. And on the left-hand side under appraisals, we can see that we've just booked that appraisal there. If I just switch back to my lead, you can see Justin Bieber, that status has already changed to meeting appraisal booked. I didn't have to do anything. All I did was just book the appraisal and that communication went out to the client. Let's fast forward. So let's pretend that we've done that appraisal. You will see that in your appraisal feedback. Click on the three dots. We're going to give the system the feedback and it will then start communicating with the client the next steps. So in this instance, I'm going to say they're proceeding. This is ticked on for that particular auto email to go out and I'm going to click complete. I can change the status. We're going to change this to a hot status because they're proceeding with us. If I'd like to add any property descriptions, any additional information when the property is vacant, tenanted, and any appraisal notes I can, and I can click submit. So my particular client will receive an email to say whatever I have attached to that particular status. If we jump back into the dashboard, you will now see these numbers going up. Coming back into the leads grid, we'll still work with Justin Bieber. If I click on this little pencil, let's say I'm waiting for a managing authority. I might want to add a note in here. It's impossible to remember every conversation or everything that you're up to with your client. So these taking sections are really handy. Okay, and we just click on add, and then I can see here what I'm up to in my activity. Let's fast forward and pretend that the managing authority has been returned. I'm going to change this to management secured. Again, if I don't want these messages going out, I can untick. In this instance, I do, and I can also review this message. But if I needed to add anything or if I needed to update any attachments, I can do that as well. Now, if I just refresh my page, you heard me earlier talk about our Reapid PM product. If you are connected to Reapid PM and you have this enabled, essentially it's at this point here where you can review and you can send this property into Reapid PM as well as the contact. So if I just click on review, that's my client, click on save. This property has now been pushed into my Reapid PM and I can go in and do what I need to there. Okay, so we're in the management secured. Fast forward, we've listed the property for rent. Okay, so the property is advertised. I want to email the owner to let them know that we've got their property advertised. And then we've leased it. So if I change my status to property leased, in my system, as mentioned, this is the trigger for the financials. So it's at this point where I can start managing my financials. So we'll just get that to update. Okay. Now, this is essentially where I'm inputting that information. Was it a new lease or was it a pickup, a file transfer? The lease start date and my achieved rent. If I negotiated the management fees, I can add what fees I have charged that particular client. I'm going to click next. I may or may not want to send an email to the client. Again, I can review that email and I can send that update. So essentially, that's your lead journey. If I go back to my dashboard, I can start seeing here all of my results, and coming down below here, I can start seeing my average rents, my average letting fees, my annual income. This will filter through to all of your reporting. Now, before we close off, just a few points that we would like to make for you all that if you would like more hands-on training, if you would like a health check on your Reapid BDM products um, or Reapid letting to apply, letting BDM or Reapid PM, please email us on the Training ANZ email that you see on your screen, as well as we do have live support via the Start chat. We've got our knowledge base. So we've got an abundance of articles that you can review, and we do also have our online learning. So education is quite important. Thank you so much for joining today.